We did it. We did it, guys. This is an amazing experience. I got my first win right here. Champion, Mississippi River 2023 Major League Fishing Invitational.
Well, get those life vests zipped and clipped, strap down those rods, and stow away those tackle bags because we are going fishing. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bass to Anglers podcast. I'm your host, Keith Niswanger, and I hope this episode finds you with 5 for 25 in your live well. But if you're bed fishing, you better make sure your boat official can verify that you hooked that fish in the mouth. Don't be turning your back to your boat official while you're unbuttoning that fish. And if you're the boat official and you can't verify that that fish was caught inside the mouth, simply say to the angler, cannot verify the fish. This fish catch does not count. They'll learn. We got boat officials. Their job is to make sure that all the things go well in the boat. They're the officials. They're the ones that are supposed to make sure that all the rules are held up and that the game is played fairly. If a boat official tells an angler that their fish doesn't count because they did not get a good look at that fish before the hook was removed, anglers are going to have to learn that, and they will learn. What was I talking about? Whoa, was that a Keith Poche sighting? Special thanks to all of you who have taken time to like and follow our videos, and to those who have offered comments. We are building our channel, and your follow, your comments, they mean a lot to us. Today we are talking to Stefan. Matt is another example of a tournament pro that has reinvented himself. He has one of the best fishing YouTube channels out there. No politics, no clickbait, no drama, just good how-to fish catching information. I don't know, it's the kind of stuff I like. I get caught up in the drama myself. I don't need the drama. I like the good fish catching stuff that Matt provides. Matt also just won the Major League Fishing Invitational at the Mississippi River last week. Because he won the tournament, he also qualified for Red Crest, and because he finished third in the Angler of the Year standings, he's also qualified to fish the Bass Pro Tour next season. Not a bad week. But first, if you like the content we produce on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Tell him, Larry.
Get her done.
I would really like to thank all of our social media subscribers for being part of our platform here, and I think I found a way to do that. Hit the following quick response code and check out the cool products our podcast partners have, and in some cases, there may be some nifty discounts for you. Take advantage of that. Go ahead. hit the QR code. Tell them, Larry.
Get her done.
All right. Thank you very much. Our guest today is a 13-year tournament veteran who just won the Major League Fishing Tour stop at the Mississippi River. The big win qualifies him for his first Red Crest appearance. And, oh yeah, by the way, his third place finish in the Angler of the Year standings qualifies him to fish the Bass Pro Tour next year. Matt, Stefan, welcome back to the Bass to Anglers podcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. I always enjoy coming on.
Your first Major League Fishing Tour victory, you qualify for Red Crest, and you qualify for the Bass Pro Tour. Which of those milestones are you most excited about?
Yeah, I mean, it's all exciting. Honestly though, from a career standpoint, qualifying for the Bass Pro Tour is probably the most important. The Red Crest is a great opportunity, and winning a tournament's a great opportunity. But from a longevity standpoint within the sport, you got to be at one of the top two levels, whether that's the Bass Pro Tour or the Bassmaster Elite Series. So really, to qualify for that was my goal going into the year.
Yeah, and I apologize for that question. That's kind of like asking you to tell me who your favorite child is, and that's not really a fair question. But I mean, what a great week. You know, we have watched your career, and you know, like a lot of guys, it's a grind, and to see it all come together. Very excited for you, and it's just neat to see one of the truly good guys in the sport have this happen for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's, you know, I always have considered myself a very consistent angler. You know, to do it for 13 years, you got to be doing something right to stick around for that length. So from a fishing standpoint, for me personally, you know, it's great to qualify for championships. It's great cash and checks, but from a personal standpoint, like winning that event is such a relief off my shoulders, because I feel like a win is always so, you look at it almost as something that's very unobtainable. And then like with the way this tournament went down, it just is such an eye-opening experience as to how obtainable it actually is. You know, in this case, I had a terrible practice. I had found, you know, a couple areas, and the one area I chose to go to turned out to be the winning location. And it just shows really how easy it is that it can be when everything comes together for you. But from a personal standpoint, like for me to win an event is just like the feather in the cap that I've been really looking for. You know, it's great to make championships, and it's great to cash a bunch of checks, but really to get that first win just means the world to me and my family, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. You know, let's talk about that tournament first. And I'm not going to get into details of the tournament because you have done such an amazing job on your YouTube channel. I just watched you talk about how you modified your 5-inch general, right? That video was amazing. The way you talked about hook placement and hook size and the size of the grass holes you were fishing. So I'm gonna let people watch that on your YouTube channel, because that is some absolute gold juice right there. But I do want to ask you about your pre-fish, and I do want to ask you, at what point did you ever think that you had a chance to win this event? You just mentioned you had a terrible pre-fish. So I'm guessing it wasn't one of those things where you thought, hey, this might work out.
Yeah, you know, this was an event. So going into the tournament, I believe I had enough of a point cushion where I had to be in the top 78 in the tournament out of 150 guys, and that would have guaranteed me a spot in the Bass Pro Tour. If I finished below 78th, it would, you know, I'd need help from other anglers to finish in certain places. So I knew I needed to catch like 11 pounds a day, because that's generally about what you need to be in the top half of the field at the Mississippi River. And my practice was not good. You know, it's a fishery I've got experience with. Now, I'm not a local. Yeah, I live a few hours away. I fish it, you know, maybe once a year. I haven't fished it since the last time we were there for the Major League Fishing Title Championship 2 years ago. So it's not like I'm out there all the time. And we had amazing floods this spring, followed by basically a drought all summer long. So we went from extremely high periods of really high water to the lowest water levels I've ever seen the river at. And it was an immensely different fishery than what I'm used to. So when I got there to practice, I really enjoy fishing current related structure, and the parts of the pools that I enjoy fishing the most are generally the mid sections of the pool, because you have like a river section followed by a section of lots of secondary channels, and then that usually dumps down into a lower basin that fishes much more like a lake. But I like that middle section. The problem was with the low water, there was no current flow going through those areas. So my history out there was pretty much null and void. I mean, it really got to the point where I couldn't figure anything out. And the current that I could find was mostly on the main channel. I found a few things down on pool 9. We launched out of pool 8, so I had found some smallmouth on pool 9, but I didn't want to bank on smallmouth, because they can be on the river. They can really be here one day, gone the next, and they were schooling fish. So I knew if I got down there and they weren't schooling, or if somebody else was on the spot, I wouldn't be able to fish for them. So I spent that was the first day of practice. Second day of practice, I stayed on pool 8, and it was terrible. And I decided on day 3 to go up to pool 7 with Lake Onalaska, and I right off the bat in the morning found the stretch that I ended up pretty much fishing the entire tournament. So I spent half a day in Lake Onalaska. I that stretch, I caught one that was probably close to 3 pounds. I caught one that was 2 1/4, 2 1/2. And then I shook off 5 or 6 bites. Now I don't want you to think it was one area. I fished it for several hours and had probably 6 or 7 bites. So it was consistent, but not grouped up. But it was enough to make me interested. I felt like if I could go there and catch 5 fish, if they were all 2 1/4 or better, I'd have my Bass Pro Bass Pro BPT invite locked up. And the second half of the day, I spent fishing the main river, looking for some wing dams and current related stuff. And I found a few areas with some smallmouth. And the only reason I chose to go to pool 7 over pool 9 come tournament time was because I felt like I had both worlds in pool 7. I had some smallmouth on the main channel, and I had some largemouth in the backwaters, versus pool 9, where I thought the smallmouth were a lot better than what I found in pool 7, but I had very, very little largemouth to go to. And I made a good decision. I went up to pool 7, and it worked out.
So many things I want to ask you there. I guess I wanted to say, at what point did you think that you had
Yeah.
the tournament won, or had the chance to win? I'm guessing you thought you had the tournament won. You found out on stage, I'm guessing, is when you really discovered it. But was there a time, and you were up there as the tournament went on, so when did it begin to
Yeah.
dawn on you that, hey, I might be in the right place?
Yeah, I thought I first started thinking I actually had a shot at this event after I caught my 16.5 pounds on pool 7. So, we each day we had a barge in the lock first thing in the morning. So we didn't get up to pool 7 until 2 hours at least into the beginning of the day. So we lost a lot of time from that standpoint. But so the first day I started fishing around 9 o'clock, and I had 16.5 pounds right at noon, and then I locked back down at that point. But it was sitting in the lock coming back where I was like, 16.5 pounds on the Mississippi River in the summer is a really good bag. And I thought to myself, I'm like, man, I made a quick pass through there. I didn't even like really milk it. I had caught I think my bag consisted of one that was almost 5 1/4, a couple of 3 1/4, 3 1/2s, and then the others were like 2 3/4. So they were really good quality fish, and I did not fish it tough. So at that point, I was like, I actually might have stumbled onto a pretty good area. In terms of actually winning the event, the Steve Lopez was fishing the same exact way I was. I didn't know that until like halfway through the tournament, but we were doing very similar things. But he had found several schools of fish, and we are catching them really fast. So when it came to the last day, I really thought I would need 16 plus pounds to have a shot. So I never really thought throughout the tournament that I had a shot until the barge debacle on the way back, where we're all waiting to lock through, and Steve asked me what I had, and I told him I had a little over 15 pounds, and he said he had 13 and a half to 14. And at that point I was like, oh my God, I might have the winning fish, but oh my God, I'm not even gonna get to weigh them in because the barge is gonna lock us out. So it was a it was a really weird experience to find out. It was almost in a way I didn't want to think I had the fish that could lead me to a win, because I didn't want to go through the agony of I had the fish to win, but I lost the tournament because I didn't get to weigh him in.
Yeah, I can't remember where I heard this. Maybe I heard this on your channel or something. But Tom Mansour is in there with you guys, right?
Yep.
He makes a phone call to somebody, and that works out. How did that shake out?
Yeah, so I don't know the exact specifics, but we're allowed to call the lock masters and talk to them and find out, is there a barge coming? Is there not a barge coming? The problem with that is the river is meant to be used as a travel route for
Right.
barges more than pleasure boats, and we're considered pleasure boats. So the barges have priority. And when we have big tournaments like this, generally what happens is the anglers really kind of upset the lock masters because they're consistently calling them, hey, where's there a barge, can I come through? And it's a pain in the butt for the lock
I
masters. So
bet.
it gets to the point where a lot of times they just don't answer the phone. And
Oh, geez.
uh Tom being a river savvy guy, and this is something I learned that I'm gonna go out and purchase, but he had a marine radio, and he actually could talk to the barge captains. He could listen to the barge captains talking to the lock masters. So he
Wow.
knew what was going on. And he's got the phone numbers for everybody. I mean, Tom is, the king of lacrosse.
Yeah.
He's he is the king of that river. He's been there his entire life, and he knows everybody. And so I don't know. I know he came over to me about an hour before weigh-in, and he told me, he said, well, I just talked to the lockmaster, and the lockmaster's response was, you better start praying to have any shot at all to get through. So it was pretty grim.
Yeesh.
And like a half hour later, so I mean, right around 12 o'clock, or I'm sorry, 2 o'clock, and we had the check in at 2:30. You're looking at, like, in an ideal world, 25 minutes to get in the lock, get situated, drop the water, lock doors open, and then we had a 5 mile or so run to get back to takeoff. So you're really looking at 25 minutes. And all the anglers getting together talking, we were like, if we're not in there by 2:05, we really are in probably not making it. And
Yeah.
at 2 o'clock, so to give a little more backdrop on it. So there were probably, I'm gonna say 10 boats, 7 to 10 boats at this point that made the final day, but we were all like in the top 10. I mean, you're talking the majority of the top 10. When we first got there, which was 12:30, 1 o'clock-ish, so several hours before check-in, we all, the boats are all talking. Everyone is kind of not joking around, but hey, how was your day? Very cordial with each other. And by 2 o'clock, everyone kind of went like this. We all just kind of went by ourselves, because it was like you didn't feel like talking. I
Yeah.
felt like throwing up, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I all like at 2 o'clock, I heard Tom laugh. Tom has a very defined, make you smile laugh. And I
Yeah.
hear him laughing. And I turn around, and he's over by another boat, and he comes idling over to me, and he just looks at me. He goes, Matt, I made a call. We're gonna get your fish in. You're gonna get the way you're fishing. And I just looked at him. I said, Tom, I don't know what you did or who you called, but I know Tom, so I know he's got, like, not that he can just make stuff happen, but he's got
Right.
connection. And
Sure.
I just looked at him. I said, Tom, whatever you did, whoever you called, thank you. And it was like, at that point, I turned and I looked at the lock, where you can see the guys moving around, like, and they went from kind of just walking around to, like, not running but hustling. Like, so whatever happened, there was, there it was a fire lit under the guys up there,
Wow.
and they got us out. And then the lock masters did a phenomenal job of like directing us. So as we were pulling in to the lock, they gave us a quick green light, allows us to go in the lock. At that point, we're going in, and they were like shouting directions to us as we're coming in. And then they immediately get the door shut, immediately start dropping us. And as it's dropping, they came back through and they're giving us more directions. As soon as those doors get to this point, you can go. Make sure you go left around the bulkhead, because that's not no wake as soon as you get around, versus having to go no wake all the way to the end. And they just did a great job. Like
Wow.
they did a phenomenal job to get us through at that point. And I'm just very thankful that happened, because Keith, I don't know how I would have handled it had I won the tournament but not
Yeah.
won the tournament. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That would have been a tough one. That would have been a tough one.
Yeah.
Well, so with this win comes a Red Crest qualification. You fished title events before. What sets Red Crest apart from other title events that you fished in your mind?
Yeah, it's a small field, high dollar celebrated event. It's not the old FLW Forest Wood Cups were really good events, but the last several years when it switched to the title championship, and then this year we don't even have one with the invitationals, it lost a lot of its luster. So I'm really looking forward to getting back to a high exposure, high intensity, exciting event, where the anglers are just pumped up to be there. You bring your families, there's dinners, there's
Yep.
awards. Like it's a cool atmosphere that makes you feel like you're part of something bigger, and you're kind of in that exclusive club. So I'm very much excited to experience that for the first time. I've talked to a bunch of other anglers that really enjoy that
Yep.
event, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it's one that I travel to every year. I mean, it's a big deal, I think. So congratulations on that. Now, you've qualified for the Bass Pro Tour, arguably the highest level of professional bass fishing. I mean, yes, the BASS Elite Tour is a big deal, but in terms of historic names that are fishing, many of them are on the Bass Pro Tour. Up to this point, it's been trying to qualify for that next level, and now you're here. What has it sunk in? What are your thoughts about this? I mean, to put it into perspective, I mean, this is a career goal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so I'm kind of my honest answer is I'm kind of mixed with respect to it. And I say that only because I feel like I was at the top level, right?
Yeah,
Back when we were fishing FLW,
correct.
it was the same thing, it was the FLW Tour and the Bassmaster Elite Series. But I mean, at this point, most of the guys fishing BPT, I have fished against and, competed against lots of times. So I don't necessarily feel like I have any uh like there's any timidness on my part to go fish against these guys. A lot of these guys are buddies of mine that I just haven't fished against in a while. So I'm really excited to get back to fish at that level. But there's no part of me that is uh concerned that I won't be able to compete. I truly feel like, and I don't want that to come across as being cockiness.
No,
I just feel like I've been able to hold my own against most of these guys anyways. I will say there are some guys that, like Kevin Van Dam is one of the guys I've never fished against. So I'm kind of disappointed that I'm not going to get that chance. But I think the caliber of angler at that level is amazing. You cannot slip up. So you got to have very consistent, solid days across the board if you want to do well within the BPT circuit. And yeah, I'm excited to get back to that. I feel like the invitationals actually were a lot better this year than what I was expecting when they announced them. But the reality of it is it's a AAA circuit. It's similar to the Bassmaster Opens. And
mm-hmm.
yeah, if you've got great sponsors and you've got the exposure, you can probably make that work from a career standpoint. But the reality is, for anglers like myself and all the anglers, our value is significantly higher at the BPT or the Bassmaster Series. It's just that's how it is. So for me, from a career standpoint, I'm just excited to get back to the point where I feel like I can represent myself without saying I'm a AAA angler.
Yes, and speaking of that, we love to talk about the business side of fishing on this podcast. I would imagine there'll be some sponsor conversations coming up in this off season.
Yeah, it's I'm that's one of the things. Like I'm excited to see the potential that could come out of this, right? Like I don't know what to fully expect. I have had some discussions with a couple of my sponsors, and it's all very, very positive. I have been approached by a couple other sponsors, so
Nice.
there may be some changes moving into next season. It's still kind of early. It's still
Yeah.
only July. I mean, we've got a couple of months to work some things out, but I, I'm excited to see where it goes. I don't necessarily think it's going to be like people come flying out of the woodwork, but it is nice to see that like there's some attention being drawn to me based on my fishing performance as well as the YouTube channel growth. And
Yes.
for me, from a personal standpoint, I really feel like I've got a lot of positive things going on within the fishing industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool stuff. Hey, so I did want to talk to you about your YouTube channel. We have seen a number of tournament pros uh, step up their social media presence in recent years, and I think that kind of falls in. I mean, you've always had a YouTube channel, as far as I know. This is the second time I've interviewed you, and I
Yep.
was watching your YouTube channel before that. But it seems that you have made a major effort, I guess, to post more often
Yeah.
and the things I like about your channel is it's always usable information. I can't remember ever seeing any drama. I don't remember seeing any clickbait. It's just kind of nice to know you can go somewhere without having to worry about that kind of stuff. So talk about your channel and what you're doing with it.
Yeah, so I do daily I'll say daily tip video, but I do, squeeze in some tournament recaps
Yeah.
and some fun kind of playing around type videos with my kids where we do, like we did a Nerf gun fishing episode where we made the Nerf bullets became our bobbers. So they actually, instead of casting, they were shooting the gun. So I do slide some
Yeah.
what I consider they're truly videos for me to go back and watch when I'm older. Like that's how I'm viewing that because they don't generally get great views, but they're entertaining for me and the kids like them. But yeah, I would say the majority of the stuff are tip videos, and I really one of the biggest regrets I have in my career is not starting YouTube sooner.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been doing it for a little under 3 years at this point, and I've been doing daily videos, and I've had really good growth. But I feel like had I started 5 years ago, I'd be that much further along with respect to it. But it has been a instrumental part of my career. When a lot of the shakeup occurred, where the old FLW tour lost a lot of its value. At that point, I recognized that I needed to continue to do things to make me relevant and build my personal brand. And the YouTube thing was, honestly, at the time, it was something that I can't say I was super excited to get into. But what I've found is I really enjoy it at this point because it's allowed me to take on more of a teacher role, which is something that I've always enjoyed. So at this point, I really try to put out content that is educational, and I feel like I put out content that professional anglers can learn from as well as beginning anglers. So I try to really reach on that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it's full of explosions and cool things. It's not a high budget type production, but it is. I kind of fall back on the idea if there's valuable information that makes up for kind of the lack of fireworks.
Right, and I'm going to guess that you are probably the production company as well, right? Are you
Oh
probably
yeah.
you are probably in charge of breaking down the video cards, and you're probably in charge of doing the editing, and
Yeah, I
that
do
adds
I
some
do it
time to your
all.
day, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a full-time job. I mean,
Yeah,
to do a daily video is really a full-time job, especially when you start thinking a lot of my videos are on the water videos, and it takes you 4 hours to fish or whatever to put the content together. You come back, by the time you get it loaded and edited and
yeah,
uploaded, I mean, it's a full-time job, but it really has been valuable to my career. Um, not just my fishing career, but at this point we released Core Tackle, which is a tackle company that I'm part owner of. So it allows me a kind of a marketing platform on that. And then, when I start getting interest from sponsors who are more interested in my YouTube channel than they are my on the water tournament
Yeah.
performance, it shows me that it's definitely valuable.
Yeah. Let's talk about Core Tackle right now. I have been following this with a lot of interest. Tell us about what Core Tackle is, where it is now, where it is going to be.
Yeah.
A better swim bait head is what everyone's looking for. And you guys feel like you might have nailed it.
Yeah, so we being myself and Johnny Schultz, who has got the Fish the Moment
Right.
YouTube channel, excellent fisherman. I've known him for several years now. We both are tackle tinkerers, and for a while we talked about various ideas. And there was one day we were talking about swim baits, and we came up, we didn't come up, but we both had this kind of the same idea for what we call the ultimate swim bait head, which we refer to as the tush. And Johnny's like, well, why don't we try it? Why don't we try to make a company out of it? And we were like, yeah, it might be something to generate, a little bit of cash, but more than anything, really allow us to make baits that we want to use. And we we were getting that one designed. I was playing around with hover strolling and getting very frustrated with losing nail weights and plastics on the hook that you're supposed to use for that technique. And I started custom making my own and showed that to Johnny, and he was like, man, we got to come out with that too. So we came out with the hover rig hook first, and then we've come out with the tush. So those are our two baits that are on the market, but we've got a whole, I had a phone call with him earlier today. I mean, where we've got a bunch of baits in prototype production. We've got a bunch more ideas that we're going to have, or designs we're going to start making to prototype. And, we started it with the idea that we could make baits we wanted to use. They've been received so well, and we feel like the brand overall has made a lot of headway into the industry, where we're actually, trying to make a lot more out of it and build it and grow it and actually get a tackle company.
Well, there is a definite buzz out there. I mean, when something is on the horizon and you can feel that it's coming along, whether it's a new boat or whatever it is, there's definitely a buzz out there, and that's the vibe I get when it comes to Core. And what I'm seeing you guys do, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's cool. It's going over very, very well. And like I said, it more than anything, it gives me the opportunity to build baits that I've always wanted to build.
Yeah. That's definitely something. Definitely something. Well, Matt, I appreciate you being with us today. I'm really, really interested in what your fall is going to look like this year. I think there's going to be some very interesting conversations that you're going to be involved in, and look forward to seeing how you do on tour next year. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Keith. I appreciate it. Anytime you need me to come on, I'd love to come on.
Camus Boats, from the mind of Earl Bentz. Excellence, tradition, and service, all part of the Camus advantage. On the water perfection. This is your next boat. Build your next boat at camusboats.com. Ducket Fishing, pro-driven rods, reels, and baits. The choice of champions. Check out ducketfishing.com to see what everybody's talking about. Ducket Fishing, pro-driven. And by Bait Pop. From the good folks who bought you fish formula, easy to apply, a thick paste that stays on your bait and gives your bait that extra pop it needs. Check them out at theoriginalfishformula.com. Basco Fishing is the official wardrobe partner of the Bass True Anglers podcast. Basco is making bass fishing fun again. Check them out at bascofishing.com. Matt Stefan, what a week. He wins his first major tour event. He qualifies for Red Crest, and he qualifies to fish the Bass Pro Tour next year. That's an entire career for some folks. Congratulations once again to Matt. Well, folks, That's going to do it for this episode of the Bass to Anglers podcast. Remember to shoot that QR code. I think I said that right. Shoot that QR code to find out more about the companies who make this podcast possible. Shoot that QR code. Tell them, Larry.
Get her done.
Until next time, keep both hands on the steering wheel. Keep those live vests zipped and clipped. Be safe out there, and we'll see you again very soon.